All right. Well, Michael, thank you for joining and being able to share your expertise with our community. I'm excited for myself to learn. I feel like it's always kind of a little free consulting here for myself, but also for our community to learn what does it look like to do profitable networking. So first, will you kind of tell us who you are and then, yeah, kind of bring us into this topic?
Sure. So my name is Michael Whitehouse. I am the guy who knows a guy based here in Southeast Connecticut. And I got into this. People ask, how'd you get to be such a great networker? And I said, I'm not good at anything else. So I had to be good at connecting people. But that's half a joke, but half true. I first arrived in Groton, Connecticut here. I didn't know anybody, had no job, no business, nothing to sell. And I started going to networking events. And the only asset I had was the other connections I'd made. So I would start meeting people and make introductions to other people. And before I knew it, and I mean like 3-4 months later, I'm meeting CEOs, mayors, chairmen of the board, executive directors, the people who are running the county, running the area. I was getting to connect with no background, fresh off the turnip truck. And it was because I was making these connections. And within a year or two, I realized I was doing something repeatable. There's nothing special about me. Now, my extroverted nature is why I stumbled across it. But once I was doing it, I didn't have to be an extrovert to do it. Anyone could do the same thing I was doing. And so that's how I wrote my first book, which is this one here, The Guy Who Knows a Guy. Here it is. The Guy Who Knows a Guy, which it tells that story and also teaches through that. And then 2020, things went online. I was able to take that out of, Southeast Connecticut is not a big place. So I was able to take it to the world and meet a much larger network and a much higher caliber of networkers doing bigger and better things, and realize these same concepts that I'd perfected in New London County, Connecticut, work just as well on a larger scale. And again, very soon I was meeting, 7-8 figure business owners. I was meeting major players in the coaching space, and by doing the exact same things. And the main key to it, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this more, is seeking to deliver value to everyone I meet. Every time I meet someone, is how can I make them better off? Because that's the core of sales. How can I make you better off in a way that makes you give me money for it? But sometimes you don't give me money. Sometimes I just make you better off. And then maybe later you come back and give me money. So that's the basic principle. Start from how can I make you better off and worry about the rest later.
I love that. I love that generous posture there. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to show up consistently and give. And yeah, it seems like it's working out pretty well. So, and even, having gotten to know you a little bit here in recent months, I can totally imagine you showing up at a new place and meeting those people. And you're, like you said, your extroverted nature allowed you to discover this, but I love how you've taken a lot of these principles and distilled it down for those of us who maybe aren't as pumped about walking into a big room.
And I think for those people, a lot of times, because you say, well, I don't want to give a pitch. I don't want to be taking from people. Most people are uncomfortable taking. And when you're taught to have an elevator pitch that talks about your selling points and your company and how great you are, you're like, I'm not, don't love that. So if instead it's your job is to go in and serve 3 or 5 or 10 people, well, okay, I guess I can do that. How? Well, make an introduction, teach them something, share something with them, find some way to make 3 or 5 or 10 people better off. That's your mission.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like fun. That doesn't sound awful and uncomfortable. That sounds good. And I think so people are torn between, well, I want to be good and giving, but I need to be profitable. I need to make money. And what I teach is
means taking.
They're the same.
Which is wrong, but
it's not about altruism or being Mother Teresa or living a vow of poverty. You will make more money if you help more people.
Yeah, I like it.
And first, let me share the 3 basic steps of profitable networking that I recommend for people. And the first is knowing your goal. So what are you trying to do? And this means know your goal, big picture. I want to end world hunger, or I want to, retire, or I want to have $1 million or $100 million exit or whatever. And then also bring that down to smaller pictures. So, okay, I want to have $100 million exit, but before that, I need to have a $10 million product. And before that, I need to have $1 million this. And before that, I need to have 100,000, seed round, and work that down to what that next goal is. And then what does that mean in this networking event? What does this mean in my networking activities? So if I want to, if my next step is $100,000 in funding, well, I need to find someone who can give me $100,000 in funding, which does not mean the orphan Oliver, will you please, sir, may I please have some funding? Please, sir, please buy my product. That's not what it means, but it means being aware that that is what you are looking for. So if you come across it, you can find it. The second step is know who can achieve that goal for you. So if you're looking for $100,000 in funding, you would like to find someone who could write a check for $100,000. Now, maybe you will not find that. Maybe you'll find 10 people who can write $10,000 checks. But if you're looking for people who can write $10,000 checks, you'll find people who can write $1,000 checks. So you look for the people who can just do it, who can be like, I like it, done. That's ideal. And also it's more compelling. So when you're telling someone, I'm looking to end world hunger, and for that, I need to find someone who can write a $10 million check. And there's probably 3 people in the world who can do that. And their names are, this, this, and this. But, that's ideally who I'm looking for. And if not them, then people like them. People's like, wow, oh, that's ambitious. Who do I know who might know Richard Branson? Or who do I know who might know Bill Gates? Versus, I'm looking for people to do $1,000 donations. I don't know. But that's the first step along the way to the third step, which is craft a compelling vision. So you want a $100 million exit. La-di-da, I don't care. That's your exit. It's not my exit. I'm not compelled by that. But I want to create a company which will lead to a $100 million exit because it will change the way people manage their time or manage their budgets or stay healthy or whatever amazing new thing you have. That's a compelling vision. Also, a compelling vision could be, I want to be able to, return the favor. My wife supported me for years as I built my business. I want to return the favor and let her quit her job. And somebody might say, oh, I don't even care what your business is. I love what you're doing. You're taking care of your wife. Yeah, let me see if I can help you. It's somehow create a compelling vision so that your goal, which is exciting to you, is now exciting to them. And when I teach this, there's 5 steps. The 4th step is have all your tools, which means know your introduction and have booking links and that kind of stuff. And then the 5th step is always moving forward. So everything you're doing, you don't say, all right, yeah, so I'll call you later to see what we can do. It's at the end of the call, you book the next call or do the next thing or whatever it is. So those are more tactical things, but I'm going to focus on those 3 as we go through the different stages, because that basic concept of know your goal, know who can achieve your goal, and craft a compelling vision that is compelling to the network and the people who can achieve it and all that, that basic structure will take you a long way.
Okay, let's talk about our last stage. Our last sequential stage, which is saturation. So this is when we've gotten to market dominance. And so at this point, you are really trying to own, kind of like you said, you're owning the community and saying, hey, this is how we do this. There's a lot of, you might be bringing on some new products in there. And you're probably doing that in scalability and maybe even sustainability too, where your business is more mature, but you might have new offerings that are kind of coming along that same maturity path. But you're trying to maintain, you're trying to still grow and keep that market share. You have other people who are trying to take that market share from you. But really you're trying to navigate a lot more complexity. You kind of, a business owner almost kind of feels more like a politician as they're managing ideas and perspectives and storylines, rather than just the functional aspects of the business a little bit. So how does that, have you seen in that space where networking, I would imagine, takes a little bit of a shift at that saturation stage when you already kind of own a market?
Yeah, so at the saturation stage, first off, you probably have people who are doing your marketing and sales for you. So while you may still bring on, large clients or big opportunities, really what you're doing, as you say, is it's more metaphysical. That's not the right word, but it's more ethereal as to what connections you're really making. And so it's not necessarily about finding partners who can promote you. That you got a marketing team for that, you got a sales team for that, you got people who are doing that. at that stage. What you're looking for is the next level solutions. So you are looking to connect with other people who are working at your level and can understand your space. And so one of the things at this level is the ability to provide value effortlessly is now at scale. So this means that you could talk to 99% of the people you would meet in most networking spaces, and in 2 minutes they will feel like you have given them the greatest gift possible because they know who you are and what you can do. And 2 minutes of your time is so valuable in your experience, and it's just inspiring. And you also probably don't want to spend much of your networking time in those spaces. But should you be in one of those spaces because you go to a local chamber of commerce event, or you go to the kind of places that have a broader mix, is you can very easily. So you want to be selective which spaces you go to. Once you're in the space, you want to meet everyone. You don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I don't want to meet him. You want to meet everyone and be very generous with your energy, your knowledge, not so your time, but be perceived as that. If you spend 4 or 5 minutes talking to someone and they're like, oh my goodness, why is this guy even talking to me? And then you say, hey, I'm sorry, I gotta meet some more people. They're like, oh, thank you. So they may then ask, how can I repay you? They may be too starstruck to do it. If they're in the existential stage and you're at the saturation stage, they may be like, oh, thank you. But you could actually ask them, if there's a certain type of person you're looking to meet, someone who is very experienced in whatever industry or whatever, do you happen to know anyone who's particularly well connected or knowledgeable in this space? And they will rack their brain for the highest level connection they can possibly think of. And maybe it's a great one and maybe it's not, but they might just be like, you know what? My daughter's little league team, one of the people she plays with is the VP of marketing for this other company. I'd love to connect you. And be like, oh, that'd be great. Thank you. And now they're like, I have a way to stay connected to this person. And this is an identity shift. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of people because, most of them, they start as like just some guy. And then eventually they're at the saturation phase. And there's 2 ways to go wrong with this. One is that you start reading your own headlines and you're like, I am truly amazing. And the other is that you never stop being that. You never get the message that you are a big deal and you have a substantial company, and you want to run the line between them. Yes, I am doing great things, but I'm still just this guy. And so you want to support people, but people will still be very excited to make that connection, and they will feel the need to justify their presence in your space and thus want to help as they can and support as they can. But this is also where you start getting into things like masterminds. This is where you're talking about spending more and more money to get into better and better rooms. And the concept remains the same, providing value to everyone you meet. But, it is great that the widow gives the one coin that she has, but it would be probably better to be with the guy who has the warehouse full of gold, in terms of how to grow your business. That said, you're now going to be meeting that person who says, well, I have a 500 person email list and I really like what you do and I'd like to promote it. And it's good to say, I really appreciate your enthusiasm. Awesome. Yeah, let's set you up. We got an affiliate program, whatever. Let's see how we can help you, because that 500 person list person may soon become a 5,000 or 50,000. And they're going to remember that you gave them the time of day, and they're going to be loyal promoters in the future. And loyal partners, and you never know who they're going to come across as they grow. It's sort of the opposite of the expression, be careful who you step on the way up, because you might need their help on the way down. Notice who is up and coming, who people are ignoring, and if you can serve them as they're coming up, you'd be surprised how quickly that guy who's up and coming, and I'm not talking about investing hours and hours and thousands of dollars. I'm saying, give them a 20-minute call and give them a way to promote, and maybe give them a shout out in your newsletter one time at the bottom under 17 other things that gets them 47 clicks. And they're going to be like, oh my God, that was so cool of them to help me out that way. That was so great. And, now they're going to be fans forever because they remember how you really, took the time to help them and whatever. And for you, it's like you told your your assistant to make sure they get in the newsletter sometime in the next 2 months. And your assistant's like, okay, I'll put that in the list. But to them, they're like, wow, they know my name. That's so amazing. So, but in terms of what's going to take you to really the next level, is doing those same things, knowing your goal, who can achieve it for you, and the compelling vision, and then leading with value with other people at your level and above. And, so getting into those mastermind spaces, getting into those elite retreats, this is when you might be going to Necker Island, this might be going to those places, but the exact same principles still apply. And the crazy thing is the imposter syndrome follows you no matter how high you get. So you've got $100 million business, but someone's got $1 billion business. Oh my goodness. One thing to remember in networking is so when you cook, mushrooms are a very versatile thing because they take on the flavor of anything that you put them in.
Okay.
Networking makes you a very versatile thing because you take on the qualities of everyone you're networking with. So if I go to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and I start doing my thing, and I'm introducing world leaders and billionaires to each other, well, I'm a billionaire networker. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm networking billionaires because my network, as I say, an HDMI cable doesn't get imposter syndrome, but the HDMI cable can show, some crappy commercial from the 80s, or it can show the greatest movie ever made. It's just carrying it through the cable. As a networker, you're just making those connections between people and creating that value. So as you're getting into these spaces, even if you may occasionally get into spaces where you're like, I don't know how I got here. This is billionaires only, and I'm not a billionaire. Provide value. And the value you can always provide is introductions. Because even if you think, oh, everyone here knows each other, they don't.
Yeah.
If there's more than 10 people in the room, they don't all know each other.
Yeah. And that's a good reminder all the way across the spectrum. Because again, I think that's a common limiting belief when someone comes into a room and they have emotions that take them back to the middle school cafeteria, and they're like, everyone else is friends and I'm the newbie. And they're like, no, everyone just. So as we've gone through all these different ones, Michael, is there kind of anything you'd want to, as we wrap up, kind of recap as we think about not just networking, but really profitable networking? Like how does networking help you grow your business and help you grow your impact and your influence? Anything you want to kind of recap with here?
So the first step is always to be seeking to provide value in every step in the process, beginning to end, because by doing that, it will get you into more productive conversations. It'll get you to talk to better people. It'll get people saying nice things about you in rooms that you're not in. And it eliminates that stress of, what should I say? You should say the thing that helps the person you're talking to. So if you're always thinking in that perspective, also then people aren't going around their guard up because they know that you're always trying to get an angle. They know you're trying to help them. And you get that reputation as being a good person who's trying to do good for people. And then they're going to want to do good back. And then that basic rubric, know what your goal is. And this is not just for networking, by the way. This is for everything. When I do coaching, doesn't matter what someone says, hey, how do I blank? My first question is always, why do you want to do it? In other words, what's your goal? So I want to do more networking. Why? What's the reason for it? What's the goal? What do you want to get out of it? And then who can help you achieve it? And then compelling vision. In other words, what's the thing that they will find interesting, not the thing that you will find interesting. So take what you're doing, make it interesting for them, which is kind of comes back to that value thing. Value is thinking about what makes this interaction good for them. Compelling vision, what makes this interesting for them. So trying to place yourself out of your shoes and into their shoes is going to make it much more effective. And that's how you avoid being the pitchy guy who's just coming in and saying, check out my amazing product. Hey, you're looking to sell a house? Because I'm a realtor and I can sell your house for you. But like, no, I'm really not. No, thank you. But it's always about providing that value to everyone you can, as readily as you can. And at every level, knowing what you're looking for and knowing there is someone in the world, in almost any situation, there is someone walking the earth who can give you what you need. You just have to find them and make them like you enough to give it to you.
No, I like it. No, that's really good. And Yeah, so I appreciate you walking through this. It's your enthusiasm and your experience really do shine through, as well as your extroversion. But I appreciate how you've called out, and I've heard you talk about this before, how you don't have to be an extrovert to be a really effective networker. And so if you're watching this and you're like, oh, networking terrifies me. That's not my jam. Going to talk to new people, would definitely encourage you to connect with Michael. He does a great job of helping people think through like what that looks like. I'm kind of like an ambivert personally, so I can there's times where I'm like, yeah, and then there's like, how do I talk to as few people as possible? So yes, I would definitely encourage anyone to connect with you, and that's where it's great because you're here in the community with us, and look forward to you running some workshops and some other different opportunities for people to really leverage their networking skills, because it is such a important part of growing our business. So thanks so much.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.